What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Stevie V. This is episode 662, alongside, welcome back, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How are you doing?
Hello, darling. I'm doing well. I missed you so much on Monday, Tuesday.
Exactly. Kodi does every show with us when he can. And you had Monday night off when we record the first episode, because, we do 2 shows a week. And Jeremy Russ Lopez, the OG, held down the fort with me. And it was a great show. Check it out. We had a good time, but we did miss you. And yeah, absolutely. So much to get into. We are live. Hi, Bryce. Hi, a lot of people that I see coming through. This show also is a video version that will be up tomorrow on our YouTube channel. So if you're listening to this and you kind of want to see what our mugs look like and what we're talking about when we get to Thirst Trap, go to youtube.com/TAGSPodcast. Okay, well, I had to, before we even started the show, I have talked about my favorite musical of all time, Sunset Boulevard, and I went for the 3rd time last night, Kodi.
What?
Yes, I had. This is why it was really important. So I have loved the show of Sunset Boulevard. Many of you know the iconic 1950s movie with Gloria Swanson, Academy Award winner or nominated, but I'm not sure. I can't remember if she won or not. But you look it up, playing Norma Desmond, about an aging silent film actress. And believe it or not, the idea by Andrew Lloyd Webber makes a great musical and made its way onto Broadway several years ago. So many people have played the part, but my favorite before was Glenn Close, which I saw 3 times. But now Nicole Scherzinger has been playing it on Broadway. She won the Olivier. Now on Broadway, and tomorrow are the Tony nominations. But I was so excited to go last night to take Diego to see, because I really wanted Diego to see what I'm talking about. Like, why do I like this show so much? And we went with a fellow friend of ours that shout out to Rod, and we had such a great time. This time I was the closest I've ever been, and I could see Nicole, not touch her, but sing to us. And there's a lot of things that happened in the show. It was iconic. Diego really loved it. So did my friend. And this time I bought the vinyl version of the cast album, which I saw it. I don't think this was the first time I saw it was in previews in September. My sister and I went right when it first opened. They did not have this. And then I went in December, so I spaced it out and went with a friend during the holidays and had a great time seeing it. And so now I went in April and I saw this. I was buying us a glass of wine and I said, Diego, go get the wine, because I beelined it over to get the vinyl version of Sunset Boulevard cast album. 3 albums worth of music that I cannot wait to play as I'm cleaning my house on Friday.
And now I don't have to go see the show. I can just listen to the album.
You can definitely I will gladly play it for you. But It was super. It was just as special, if not more special, this last 3rd time that I've seen it. And tomorrow, or when this show drops, the Tony nominations come out, and I'm almost 100% sure that the show, many of the cast members, and Nicole will be nominated. And I cannot wait. So I will be up early to see. But I wanted to see it 1/3 time, because once those come out, it gets a little crazy on, getting tickets and all that good stuff. Do you have a question for me about my show?
No, she definitely deserves it. She definitely deserves her accolades for her performance. and I've heard many, many, many good things. And yeah, I love her. Oh, and Gloria Swanson won the Golden Globe, not the Academy Award, for Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, she was nominated and didn't win. That was a tough year because I also think Bette Davis was nominated too, and it was like, ooh, tough year for women that year. Just like this will be for Tony Awards. So, anyways, I had to get that out and super excited. Okay, well, we have been talking about Puerto Vallarta, a place that I love to go to all the time, and we've been talking about drag. Oh my gosh, drag race winner from Canada, Venus, who basically, just to recoup the whole story, drag race winner of Canada season 4, Venus, basically went to Puerto Vallarta a couple weeks ago and was involved in some brouhaha that left her on the side of the road with some bruises around her. I'm sure you've heard us talk about it. There's been a lot of press on it. We'll let you go back to those stories. But that's essentially, she claimed that local police in Puerto Vallarta had handcuffed her, beat her up, left her on the side of the road in some obscure place in Puerto Vallarta. And that was kind of the story. And then she later retracted the story a little bit and said that, oh no, it really wasn't the police after all, but it was very obscure as to who caused this. Although the hotel where the Almar, where she was staying, basically claimed that you were involved in a quarrel, an argument, a major disagreement with somebody. And the latest, though, because we were raising our eyebrows on this, is she basically gave an official apology. Canada's Drag Race season 4 winner has shared a video not only clarifying that she drew wrong conclusions about an incident she experienced over the weekend, but also a flat out apologizing to her fans and really to the people of Mexico, which I think is really good. She did this last Tuesday and she said, "Hi, everyone. I owe you an apology. This apology goes directly to the community here in Puerto Vallarta, to anyone in Mexico, my Mexican followers, to the officers that I had dealt with. And beyond that, I really fucked up. I made some terrible accusations and assumptions about what had happened the other night. And just because I blacked out, which was something that I had done, it doesn't excuse my behavior in perpetuating the stereotypes that this is an unsafe place," meaning Puerto Vallarta, and creating really a narrative without actually knowing what had happened. That was foolish and extremely ignorant of me, and I'm deeply sorry for that and for any harm I have caused. And I am aware of that harm. And she's been called out, Kodi, by many of the local people in town, by many drag queens. I'm sure Mama Tits had something to say to her, and local authorities. And you know, Kodi, PV has a huge LGBTQ community. They are strong. They 90%. I mean, you don't want to mess with them and ruin what they've got going on down there. Yeah. And I don't know. She said in the end, Venus, that I know some of you might not accept my apology, but it's the best I can do right now, essentially, is I'm paraphrasing. But when you hear her apology and how it took a little bit longer maybe to get to this point, do you accept it, and can we move on?
I mean, I think it's sincere, so I'm not in the place to accept it. But for the people of Puerto Vallarta, I feel like they should at least hear her and see how it has affected them. And it's up to them whether or not they accept it or not, because that they were the ones that were harmed by this, not me in particular. So but honestly, I do think it's sincere. She related it back to her indigenous roots and how that type of stereotyping can be really harmful to indigenous people and people of color in general. So I think that it was very heartfelt. I feel like she's going to learn from this, and I feel like anybody can fall from grace. So why not give them grace in this moment? Yeah. So I'm here for Venus. She looks cute in this video.
She does, yeah, right.
And that good for her for apologizing, because I feel like a lot of people rely on their publicists. We'll get to some stories later on of some people who should be relying on their publicists.
Yes.
For these apologies, and for me, it was very heartfelt. So yeah.
I
What do you
agree.
think?
I agree. I mean, I think it took a minute to get to this point. I think it was really quick to throw the community and the authorities under the bus when she wasn't really looking at her behavior. And I think she probably got called out, or he got called out by a lot of people. But ultimately, you know, this story has gone viral, and I think he did the right thing because he knows what a big community this is. I mean, we just talked about the Tryst opening up in Puerto Vallarta. Every star was there. Puerto
Did you see
Vallarta
that?
is no joke.
It's
Whether
like,
you like to go
girl.
there or not, I know I go there all the time. It is a huge LGBTQ community with people that live and work there, and this is how they make their living. And the Puerto Vallarta community is super welcoming. And I know I said this before, it's not always perfect. It doesn't get everything right, but you cannot make claims that are false about authorities and being unwelcomed and not think that it's going to come back and kick you in the butt.
Cojones.
Yeah. So I think she really had no choice. But I think by having no choice, she did the right thing. So yeah, it is
I
what
agree
it
with you.
is. So yeah.
Also, speaking a little bit further on that, blacking out is something that people should probably address, especially, I mean, like, if it's happening frequently, then I think that that's something that she also needs to probably look at a little bit, because I think that that is, for me personally, it has been a sign that I need to just take a little break
Yeah.
and take a step back. So I think that maybe she just should take a look at that. Maybe it's not something that's habitual, but maybe it is, and maybe she should take a look at that. I don't know the lady, but this is just my little piece of 2 cents.
Absolutely.
P.S.
Well,
We should get invited to the Tryst. Let's go, Tryst. If you looking at this, can you call us, please?
we can go. I mean, I know you said you wanted to join me on an upcoming trip that I'm going
I
to.
do.
We went ahead of their opening. It is amazing. The drag brunch is on fire. So check that out. We can go together for sure.
Damn.
Moving on to Pedro Almodovar, one of my favorite writer directors of all time. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, just to name a few.
So
Woman
good.
on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Well, he was recently honored at the Film at Lincoln Center here in New York City for the 50th Champion Award. This just happened on Monday night, and he gave a really hard message over to President Trump saying, I doubted if it was appropriate to come to a country ruled by narcissistic authority who doesn't respect human rights and who it seems nothing can't stop his race to change the fragile world balance. Trump and his friends, millionaires and oligarchs, cannot convince us that the reality we are seeing with our own eyes is the opposite of what we are living. However much he may twist the words, claiming that they mean the opposite of what they do. And he said things like, immigrants are not criminals, Zelensky is not a dictator, Putin is, and no matter how much Trump denies, it was Russia that invaded Ukraine. He goes on to say that Hunter Schafer, the wonderful co-star with Zendaya in Euphoria, is a woman, even though she was assigned with an M for man while renewing her passport. That cruel whim by Trump bureaucrats that there are only two genders does not change the nature of the human being and their sexual diversity. Lastly, he says, Mr. Trump, I'm talking to you. Mr. Trump, I hope that you hear what I'm going to say to you. You will go down in history as the greatest mistake of our time. Your naivete is only comparable to your violence. You will go down in history as one of the greatest dangers to humanity since the beginning of the century. You will go down in history as a catastrophe. And as somebody that, by the way, before we get into what he just says, he has a movie that you can all see right now, The Room Next Door, with Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore, which Diego and I watched the other day. I believe it's on Netflix. It's out there. Go watch it. It is so good, about euthanasia and about somebody that you've known from their past that is dying from an incurable disease that somebody comes in and it's his first English language film, The Room Next Door, highly recommend it. But what do you think about what Pedro Almodovar said to Trump?
I mean, I loved him before, but I love him even more now. His movies were always just like thought provoking and they pushed the boundaries. And I didn't know much about him personally or his views before, but now I can see why those movies are the way they are, because he speaks so eloquently and he's so passionate, and he has, from what I see, a good head on his shoulders as far as these issues are concerned, and he's very progressive. So I'm just glad that he's out here expressing his views. I'm glad that everybody is out here doing what they're doing and fighting the good fight and showing everybody that we're not just sheep and we're not going to take what Trump is doing lying down. So I feel like a change is coming, and it's been a long time coming, and it's time for us to just radicalize and make our voices heard.
And I think it's really cool to hear a voice from a Spaniard. We hear a lot of voices, obviously, and we need to all protest and do our part here in our own country. But I think it's really telling when you hear somebody that has given us art throughout the years, somebody that is not a citizen of America, that is a Spaniard, that has touched many of our American lives throughout the years. And I think that's really important to hear what the rest of prominent figures and people around the world are thinking and saying about us. And I think he didn't necessarily want to come to America, sadly, like a lot of people feel that way right now. And that's a travesty in many ways, however you look at it. But he did come here, he accepted his word, and he had a message for our president, and it resonated. And we will be here to continue to disseminate that information. And so I'm have always been fan of Pedro Almodovar and his work, and such an artist, such a great filmmaker. Go see this movie right now, The Room Next Door. Highly recommend it and support him for sure.
Cool. I'm ready.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Well, many of us know how fentanyl has found its way onto the scene and is taking away so many people. Fentanyl has found our queer nightlife, and there's a group of drag queens kind of teaching clubgoers to save lives, and it's starting in San Francisco. What I love about it is there is one drag queen that's really heading this up, and she's working with the San Francisco Entertainment District, and they did a whole PSA, which I know you watched, but her name is Kochina Rude. I love that name. It's spelled with K-O, Kochina, but like in Spanish, Kochina is like dirty.
Yeah.
So I love Kochina Rude. And what I love about it is when she's going to places like the Oasis in San Francisco, she's bringing her message about how fentanyl is really destroying many of our community, and it's found in all kinds of drugs. It's cut, as we know, with deadly drugs like cocaine and meth, and she's really teaching on how to use Narcan, and she's actually giving that out. She also does the PSA on get your test strips and how to test it properly in this video. I'll post this on TAGSPodcast, but I learned a lot from this PSA video about if you had Narcan and you found somebody that the signs are they are passing out and they might be turning blue in their fingertips and their parts of their face might be turning blue and you can't wake them up, that she talks about how to administer it to try and wake them up first and foremost. But then I know that I've gotten CPR training back in the day, but I've forgotten about it. I watched this video. I'll post it on TAGSPodcast again. I now know that I could administer, pretty sure I could do it based on this PSA video by Kochina, that I could do it. And I could because she broke it down really well. And sometimes it just takes a drag queen to really educate us on saving lives. And I like that she really made it really, like, I understand now how to administer just based on this video. When you hear this and how drag queens like Kochina are really going around telling us the dangers that are killing our community and how she's going further along about educating us on how to save lives. What do you think about this?
Oh, I love it, and I learned so much too. Probably because it was wrapped in a drag queen, in a drag queen wrapper, and I think all things drag queens are fantastic. So maybe that helped a little bit, but Kochina is very personable. She injected a little bit of humor into it too, and I just enjoyed it immensely. And drag queens have always been an important part of our community and driving it forward. So I am fully in support of this. I need to go give Kochina a follow because she's fucking adorable, and I
Yes.
can't wait to see more of her. So put her on Drag Race, give her a follow, and just get out there.
Absolutely. If she wants to be on Drag Race, but not
Maybe
everybody
she doesn't.
does.
Yeah.
One Drag Race top contendant, Lexi Love, who was on the recent season 17 finale, and she made it to the top 4 or top 5. I'm talking about Lexi Love, has just announced that she's going to be taking a break from drag for her emotional well-being. And she pretty much says to my loyal friends and family, I'm taking a step back to nurture my mental, physical, and emotional well-being. It's time to transform my relationship with my inner saboteur, to understand it, disarm it, and step fully into my strength. The journey isn't one I can't take alone. I know I'll need help, guidance, and grace along the way. And I'm so grateful to have love and support of this incredible community behind me. And she really tells us that when she returns, she'll be stronger than ever. But this is kind of, if you watched season 17, she was my favorite Lexi Love, transgender, but she talks a lot about it throughout the whole season, that she was her own inner saboteur, and that inner voice has always been something that has blocked her in many ways. Although it got her to the top finale, she still did well. Normally, you would think this is the time that you would be accepting all kinds of gigs. This is the time that things are pouring in and you want to ride that wave. Usually, to be taking a break so early on, even though we know she's a superstar and will probably have no problem getting work down the road, this must be really serious, Kodi, for her to be taking this mental break.
Well, of course, there's going to be space for her down the line, I feel like, because she's so incredibly talented. She was top 4. She is a fantastic lip syncer. And I think that there's definitely going to be a place for her. I'm glad she is taking this time, because for me, what actually happened in this instance is she watched herself on the show and she learned so many things. I think that's what a lot of these girls, that's what happens to them when they watch themselves on the show. They learn about who they are and what their triggers are. So I'm so glad that she was able to see herself looking from the outside in, because I'm sure it only helped her. She's going through what I feel is a transition. I don't know how old she is. She's in her 30s, I think, but later in life, I feel like. And but maybe not too late. I think it's just everything in its own time before I step in
30s it. Is not,
I'm much older than that, so I can't really say too much on that.
Let's not go down that road.
But you know what? She's not 20 anymore. So I think that going through this transition now has probably brought a lot of things to the surface. So take this time if you need it, because your mental health is the most important thing at the end of the day. So I'm glad she's doing this. I will definitely support her. I need to go give her a follow too, because I only follow Jules Sparkles and Anya Nerve, of course. But Corey King, oh my God, Corey King is amazing. So, but yeah, now I'm going to give Lexi a follow too.
Lexi is one of my favorites, so I'm really happy that she's taking this time. And yes, there will. I can't wait till she returns and she's back in the spotlight. Absolutely. Well, recently, moving on, we've been talking about Terrance Howard, actor Terrance Howard, Empire fame, was in Madonna's Ghost Story video, and done a lot of things throughout the years. And the last time we talked about him, he was on a podcast where he insisted that masculinity had to do with not really being gay. Do you remember that, Kodi? He said on a recent podcast, we were talking about that, and he says when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're gonna get a real reaction back. He said, I've lost business because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do, yeah, exactly. Because a man card means everything. And we talked about that on a recent episode about why did he feel the need to really talk about what it means to be a man? Why are you defining masculinity as only a heterosexual man? And that really offended many of us. Well, it seems like he's been doubling down, because he recently was on another show where he was talking about the potential of playing Marvin Gaye. And when he was talking on the show, well, I asked Quincy Jones, what about Marvin Gaye? And Quincy said, oh, he was gay. Also, Marvin Gaye was gay, according to Quincy Jones. And he said, well, I could never play that character because I just couldn't play gay. He says, I was over at Quincy Jones's house and I'm asking Quincy, I'm hearing rumors that Marvin was gay. And I was like, was he gay? Howard said. And Quincy said, yes. That's why Howard went on. He passed on the role. He couldn't play gay if it meant playing gay. They wouldn't have wanted to do that, and I wouldn't have been able to do that, he said, because I don't fake it. That would fuck me, Howard added. I would cut my lips off.
Something's fucking him.
If I kiss some man, I would cut my lips off. Despite how it sounds, he defended his comment. It does not make me homophobic to not want to kiss a man. I can't play that character 100%, Howard went on. I can't surrender myself to a place that I don't understand. And you know what's so ridiculous about him on another interview so shortly after what it means to be a man is only heterosexual is the fact that actors are actors. You come to a role with a clean slate. You don't have to know what a life is like to be able to play another character. Your job literally is to do all your research and do your best to become that character. So if we were talking about the Menendez brothers, that was a huge set. They didn't murder their parents, those actors that were on the Ryan Murphy, but did they need to run out and murder some people so that then they could play the role? Absolutely not. So it's a crock of shit for Terrance Howard to say, I don't know what it's like. You're actually basically saying then you're not a good actor, because you can't, a good actor doesn't, that's your whole point. That is the point of acting. Your point is to obviously not know about every single person in the world, but you have to do the research. You have to get into character. So he's a crock of shit once again, because the very definition of an actor is melding yourself and doing the research so that we believe that you really are that person. And what a shame, because Marvin Gaye is one of the most, I mean, I just showed you my record of Sunset Boulevard. I have a few Marvin Gaye. He's one of the most iconic musicians, singers of our time. If you have a record collection, you need to have a Marvin Gaye record in there at some point, because it just will complete your vinyl collection. What do you say to Terrance crock of shit Howard?
So much. So first of all, let's talk about.
He hears this, motherfucker.
I know, me too. First of all, let's talk about how Quincy Jones probably told him something in confidence, and now he's out here spreading all of these things. He's spilling Marvin Gaye's tea, and we don't need to know all that. That's ridiculous. So he needs to go on the blacklist for that alone, because he's got loose lips and that he needs to cut off, by the way. So, and yeah, I feel like he's just looking for relevance again, because something must have got out about how difficult he is to work with, how horrible and hateful he is, probably having to do with something about how homophobic he is. Because honestly, this is just ridiculous, and I feel it's coming out of nowhere, and it's borderline misogynistic. Because who takes away a man card, and who thinks that they can lose a man card? And what even is a man card? I don't even know. I think it's ridiculous to think that your manhood can be taken away. It sounds like the thoughts of someone who doesn't even understand what gender is, or how he has a very simplistic view of it. So he seems like a simplistic person, and I am glad that he's not playing Marvin Gaye, because Marvin Gaye was, like you said, fantastic, iconic, prolific, and he had so much more depth to him than I think that Terrance Howard could even give him. Because, like you said, he's probably not even a good actor. I don't think so. So good kudos on him not getting that role. And I'm over here fired up. I know you're fired up because he's a crock of shit. Yeah. When you said crock of shit, I was like, oh my goodness, here we come. We about to light him up.
Why is he doing all these shows right now anyway, these podcasts? Normally you do them if you're... Yeah, exactly. Normally you're promoting something, but you're promoting hate and misogyny and homophobia in your latest, and you've doubled down. You say your opinion about certain things, but this just doesn't add up. And yeah, I just not a fan anymore.
Them Empire checks dried up, and now he's out here spouting hate. And you know what? I've seen a lot of discourse about how he's okay with playing pimps and women beaters, but this is where he is drawing the line. So in my mind, he thinks that those things are okay, and they're within him to do those things. And him being in a loving homosexual relationship, that's outside of the scope of his being and what's okay to him. That just doesn't make sense to me. It sure doesn't. And I really feel like, sure, Jan, that's good. I'm good with you.
Exactly. Bye. And I hate to use an overused statement, but it really gives off toxic masculinity. And I know we hear that a lot, but you know what? If the shoe fits.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of an appropriate idiom, but you got to it. Thank you very much, darling.
Absolutely. Well, somebody that is really standing up for our rights over in Australia, our friends over in Australia, is gay Australian MP Stephen Bates. And MP, we said, stood for...
Member of Parliament.
Member of Parliament. That's right. Stephen Bates joins OnlyFans to campaign for free PrEP. Well, Bates justified the move, saying sometimes you have to make a splash to make people pay attention. Stephen Bates is a member of Parliament in the Australian Green Party, and he's basically ruffled a lot of feathers within the party and Australia because he did join OnlyFans. He's also used places like Grindr to basically say that he's done this since 2022 to basically advocate for free PrEP. He says ending HIV is too important to fly under the radar. And he says, I campaign on OnlyFans and Grindr because it gets attention. Sometimes you have to make a splash to make people pay attention and to things that matter. I'm here for this. He also says, well, PrEP is on... basically, he says that some people get it, but it's a sliding scale for many people, and it's saving people's lives. We know this by now, that the more we can... We've done studies here in the U.S., not us in particular, but the U.S. has done studies that the amount of people that are really on PrEP that would really benefit from it is... the percentage is really low, Kodi. Mm-hmm. And it is really saving us from another epidemic and from HIV, and maybe not eradicating HIV, but it is definitely keeping it at bay. And when we looked at the stories in the past of how how PrEP really just isn't out there and how everybody can't really get it. We've had Tristan Shoecraft on our show, who's really on the fight for it. We were talking about his hotel earlier, the Trist in Puerto Vallarta, with his Mr. campaign and really getting mistr.com, where you can get it for free, even if you don't have insurance. But when you hear this Australian who's on the Green campaign, Stephen Bates, utilizing OnlyFans and Grindr, what do you think about his method to this madness? Or is he really just speaking to the wrong crowd?
Oh no, I think it's brilliant. I think that you use what you got to get what you want. And I feel like this is a way to get the word out there. Being provocative, I think is a super, we're talking about it here. And now I know everybody in Australia is going to be talking about it. I think the people and the politicians here, girl, should probably take a page out of this man's playbook and really get out there and spread the word where the people are, and get out there on the grassroots and do all the things that the people are doing. But I don't know if they'll do that here. But I mean, like, what I really
we cancel
recommend
people.
that they do.
Well, we were just talking last week about a Bravo person that works behind the scenes in production. That I don't have his name in front of us.
Patrick McDonald. I remember.
That basically
follows me on Instagram now.
And follows me too, and thanked us for talking about him and giving him love. But in this country, according to him, he says that he couldn't even keep his job with Bravo because he had an OnlyFans page. But I feel like across the pond in Australia, that while it's still controversial, he's not going to lose his seat on the Green Party over there because they just aren't so concerned about that stuff. Now, will he make an impact? To your point, yes. We are talking about it over here. I'm sure they're talking about it in Australia. It's causing some controversy. To this point, OnlyFans still has the stigma that I'm sure still over there in Australia too. But however you want to get your point across to save lives. No, yeah, I didn't go on there. Did you go on there to see what he was actually?
Let me look.
Let's look.
I think I actually did go on there. Oh, and then I had to log in, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to log in.
Well, yeah.
Hold on one second.
Who knows what he's showing over there, but
it's free. I know that much.
Yeah. Well. Exactly.
He's not showing anything. There's only a video here of him, I guess, talking about PrEP. It's nothing explicit or anything like that. He's just there talking to the people about being safe, which I completely applaud.
And how PrEP should really be free for all people. And, you know, they just heard it here in the US. The Supreme Court heard whether or not we should continue giving free PrEP out like I get it right now through our health providers. And so hopefully that will continue. But there's a move and a force that's trying to stop us getting it.
I saw something that someone posted, and it was the gentleman who got a note from his doctor saying all the dosages for PrEP because they were in talks about this administration reducing any of that. So he wanted him to have all that information on hand so that he could actually do his due diligence in getting what he needed as far as PrEP was concerned. So I don't know if I should be worried, or you should be worried, or we should all be worried, or
we should all we will stay on top of this for sure. And what we also are staying on top of is our Patreon tags community, which you should head over to right now and grab a free tier. I just posted some exclusive pictures of last night of Diego and I at Sunset Boulevard. And you'll get stuff that you will only get on our Patreon tags community as a free member. But if you choose to support us, which we highly encourage you to do, know that you are supporting the show you've known to come and love. And you can grab a tier. And when you grab a tier this week, you can get commercial free. We always do commercial free, so you don't have to listen to all those ads. But also this week, and once a month, I put out a bonus episode, topics that you will only hear on our Tags Patreon community. And that one comes out tomorrow. I'm feverishly editing that one, of all the topics that we didn't make the show, but that are still juicy and good. You want to get it. And you can always, if you still don't want to grab a tier, you can just grab that one bonus episode for a teeny tiny fee. It's like the cup of coffee, and you are still supporting Tags Podcast. How do you do that? Go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. Patreon.com/Tags Podcast. And we really appreciate all of the support. Free or tiered membered. We really appreciate it. And on that note, let's continue the conversation because it's really good. Recently, online tops were sounding off on whether it's hot when the bottom struggles. And what do we mean by that? Well, there was somebody on the gay internet by the name of Alec who went on to say, "Tops, is it hot when bottoms struggle to take it?" He posted. The responses were passionate and largely seated in one camp. No, and anyone who says otherwise is a weirdo. Is it a turnoff if the bottom isn't enjoying what the point is? Everybody said, no, a top should not want to see you uncomfortable and in pain. Stop. Wait. Too deep are valid things to say, but it does mess up the pacing. I usually suggest finding a top with a comfortable size for you. So the idea of pain and pleasure basically existing on a continuum, it dates back for years, Kodi. We all want that deep penetration. But for that Alec who was posting the original question, do you want to see your bottom struggle? You're a top. I'm a newer top. Do you want to see your bottom struggle?
I don't want to see him if it's painful, then we need to stop. Point blank period. That we can do other things. There are some things that I'll try and go less deep for sure. I've done that before previously, and I had a good time. I came, so I can have a good time not going as deep. However, there is something to be said for a bottom that can feel every inch, if that makes sense. I was with this one guy recently, and he could feel every inch. It was just waves of pleasure going through his body, and it was so hot. I want to call him right now. I want to finish the show
first, and then you can call him after you finish this show. Let's just get that straight.
His body was amazing, and it was just, it was probably the best sex that I had since, my whole situation happened. But the final answer here is if they are struggling, if they are not comfortable, if it is not pleasurable to them. And I like to go deep. I like to hit the second hole because I got skills like that. And if that is something that they can't take, then we need to adjust. And you need to be communicative as a bottom about how and where and if it's too much. So just talk to your top. If they are not receptive to that, then you need to stop fucking them. Point blank period.
Yeah, I don't think you want your bottom to struggle. And, I think there's a little bit of role play that can be going on that can be hot. That's separate, though, of sub and dominance that can go on, that you can play with that. But if it's struggling because you're getting winces and cringes because it's too painful, then you need to be communicating with your bottom. And I know this, we're coming out. I just recorded an episode with the good doctor, the Ask Doctor, the proctologist, Dr. Goldstein, last week that will be coming out in a couple weeks. That's really good. He's got these great new products that can't wait to share with you guys. But we were talking a lot about this and the importance of lube. And as a bottom, you shouldn't want to be wincing. You should be, if you know you're going to get pounded later that day, or if you want to later that week, there's all kinds of exercises you should be doing that he gives on that episode that, to prepare your hole. Because you don't want trauma to that area that could lead to later problems later on. You don't also want to see your bottom in that kind of pain. And if you do see them wincing and struggling, then you want to ask them questions like, do we need more lube? Should I pull back a little bit? Should we go a little bit slower? Could I do this a little bit more? Are we in the right position? And check in, because the sooner your bottom becomes more comfortable and is not wincing and cringing, then you can really go deeper, and
it's better for everybody.
Yeah, it's better for everybody. So bottoms shouldn't ignore that. Tops should definitely not ignore that. And bottoms for their health of that area, so that you can, we talk a lot about this on this upcoming episode about sustainability and how you want to take care of that area, because you want to be able to have sex for many years. And so no, I don't think it's good to see your bottom struggle and wince and those crazy contortions, because it doesn't benefit anybody. And
Exactly.
We want everybody to be able to have a long, hot, like we say, hot gay sex at the end of every show for as long as they can. So
that's
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Well, actually, very recently, I had to tell a bottom that we need more lube. I guess they weren't in the situation or the mindset to be like, oh, I need more lube back there. But I was very conscientious about that. Also, no, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Let's keep it pumping. I'll tell you later.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was a recent story that we don't have to talk too much about, that it's called The Least Realistic Thing About Gay Adult Entertainment. It was on a podcast called Loose Lads. Anthony Gillette and James Egan discuss the peaks and pitfalls of the adult entertainment. And basically, they go into how, if you really knew what went on some of these, and when you watch some of the, what's the least realistic thing when you see a guy in Prague that's supposedly straight, and you bring him back, and then his hole is totally shaved and he's ready to go, clean as can be. But their conversation was interesting. I found it. However, on the other hand, I thought, it's porn. This is what porn's all about. It's about fantasy. So of course, these are made up situations, and that's why a lot of us often go to realistic porn, because, or not realistic porn, but you know what I'm saying, just porn,
OnlyFans, or
yeah, because so while I thought their conversation was interesting, I also found like, well, that's obvious, because porn has always been about fantasy, and the more we can keep a good dose of, a healthy dosage of watching porn, but then also knowing that it's not like real life necessarily, it just isn't, then that's fine. So with that in mind, there was a recent Reddit post though that did get my interest, and it says, growing up, who was your favorite all-time porn star and why? Who really got your fancy back in the day? And I think we did this a while back, years ago. Maybe. We're up to in our 662 episodes here, but I'll start first on answering this question about who really got my fancy back in the day. And it was a guy by the name of, and I think you and I talked about him before, Jeff Stryker. And
oh my gosh, yes. He was when I was working at at a record store back in the 90s, I'm not going to say the name of it because it'll age me. I used to put his name on my
Tower Records, Sam Goody's.
Sam Goody, yeah. Sam Goody. I put his name on my name tag. So and anybody that came in that knew he was gay, that knew he was a gay porn star would be like, hey, girl. Yeah, so cute. I love Jeff Stryker.
That's a great, I mean, Jeff Stryker. So the reason I love Jeff Stryker, look him up if you don't know who I'm talking about. The reason why I loved him, he was one of the first porn stars that I saw back in the day. And he had this really thick black hair, and it like waved down like this, and it was kind of parted on the left, and it was like thick hair. He was really smooth. It was in that late 80s where it was really, he had a very thick body, and he had one of the most hugest dicks ever that was beautiful. And he also had this really deep voice that he would use. That's when a lot of those porn stars use their voice and everything. And all of that melded together for me to be just like, okay, the dick for sure. But that deep voice and that thick hair and that smooth body at the time, that was my favorite. And, you know, I heard him talk later on throughout the years, and I'm not sure if he was gay or if he was somewhere in between, but he was so cool. Like he has a doll, like a Ken doll made out of him.
Really?
And yeah. And he also has a dildo, of course, but yeah, he seemed really cool. He's still around, I think, but not doing porn, but kind of a cool guy. Who was yours and why? Besides being Jeff Stryker name tag.
Jeff Stryker wasn't actually one of my faves though. He was popular, so that's why I put him on my name tag, because I felt like more people would know that name other than many other porn stars. And also I think he was a little bit earlier, maybe the late 70s, early 80s.
Jeff?
Right? Yeah, he was when he was
No, he was 80s for sure.
Yeah.
80s, yeah.
Okay. All right. But I mean,
a little earlier for you, yeah.
Yeah. So my not childhood, but my early adolescent porn star crush was Max Grand. Do you remember Max Grand?
Oh yes. I think we talked once before that
we did.
He was a trainer. He was a trainer at the gym where I worked at, and I would see him all the time. I didn't know he was a porn star until later, but yes. And he was always super nice as a trainer at the gym I worked out at, because I worked behind the desk, so I saw everybody that came in. And yes, I know who you're talking about, Max Grand.
I would drink his bathwater. He is so delicious. And you know what I think it is? I think it's because my facial features are more delicate, smaller, and I feel like his are much like more defined and stronger and more. I think we generally tend to like things that we admire in other people that necessarily we don't have. So I think that for me, it was completely his face. I mean, and his dick too, because his dick was fantastic.
Right.
But yeah, I completely I subscribed to his, I think it was like an Amazon thread or something like that back in the day. And it was ridiculous. Oh, it's a Facebook group. That's what it was. Wow. So yeah, he was my crush. I adored him. I used to watch all the things that he was in, and I'm sure there were several others, but he is the one that pops to mind immediately because he was a delicious man, and he could come get me right now if he wanted to. Max Coleman.
I love it. Well, he was super nice when I knew him back in the day,
and he's nice.
He was really nice, as I think Jeff Stryker was too, based on interviews I've seen. Let us know. We got
great porn husbands.
Yeah, we're going to give our handles at the end of the show, but you can also go to TAGSPodcast.com. Who was your early porn crush back in the day? We'll read some of those on an upcoming episode because it's just kind of fun to know and for all of us to kind of look up. Man, absolutely. Well, we love giving advice on this show, and tonight is no different than any other night. And this one came from a Reddit threader, but you can always ask us for solicited or unsolicited advice. We are here for you. This one asks the question, is love enough? Hi, I'm 33 and I've been with my partner, 34, for 10 years. We were each other's first love and first serious relationship. And before meeting him, I didn't really have time to explore or experiment with other guys. I came out, met him shortly after, and we've been together ever since. After 8 years together, I decided to move abroad, just a 2-hour flight away. I think they're in Europe, because of an amazing work opportunity. I genuinely love my boyfriend, but I don't enjoy the long distance aspect of our relationship. We only see each other twice a month and just for the weekend. And I've really fallen in love with my new life in this new city and have no plans to move back. At the same time, he doesn't want to move here, and it has something to do with language. After a year ago, we decided to open the relationship up. We're both tops. And for 8 years, I compromised my bottoming for him about once a month, even though I never really enjoyed it. Now that I've had a chance to explore my sexuality, I realized I love being a top and no longer want to bottom. I still deeply love him, but I'm starting to think that love alone may not be enough when there's no shared vision for the future and no longer sexual compatibility. They built a life together, but life is short. Any advice on should they proceed ahead, Kodi?
Girl, pack it up, girl.
Pack it up. I
You
agree.
got
We
two
can keep
nails in
this
the
one kind
coffin,
of
girl.
simple. Yeah.
Normally, I am all for love, and I think a lot of things can be worked out,
Yeah.
but sexual compatibility and that distance is wild. So, you know what? Love is normally enough for me, but not when you're not sexually compatible, because it's just going to breed a lot of resentment. So, and he doesn't want to move where you are, girl. Bye. Go ahead, baby.
And I agree with you. They're too young. They're in their 30s. They had a really long, lovely relationship. I think they can be fond of each other in many ways, but they are so both young and they're, I think, consider 30s really young. And he started this whole new life, and it's time to just move on. They can visit each other. They can be friends. They can have
things together.
But it's time to just accept the reality that you've moved on and start enjoy this new life that you've created for yourself. I really believe that you can't. Long distance is too hard as it is, even if it only is 2 hours away. And with everything that you told us, including two tops don't make a right, yeah, I agree. Move on, but don't be rude to him. Keep it, keep it cute.
It's just so hard when you're in love still. I don't know if I'm that evolved yet.
I can't. But yeah. Before we get to our favorite segment of Wednesdays when we are available to have it, but produced by Straight Up Gay Porn, I wanted to share a real quick, and if you're watching it really quickly, there is a French actor that decided to recreate Madonna's infamous sex book pose where I have the sex book, I'm staring at it over there, where he is in the streets hitchhiking, and I'm talking about French actor Mathis Chevalier, who paid homage on a recent photo shoot to Madonna's sex book, and I'm posting them side by side right now, and I don't know, I think pretty good, right? He did a good job. He's in heels too, which I think is really sexy.
Madonna ate him up, girl.
I think they're both good.
Girl, Madonna ate him up. Sorry.
I think it's really nice.
He's beautiful.
The male version of it. I talked about parties that I've done in the past where I had Christmas parties where I called them Xmas parties, where you had to show up in leather. And to promote some of the early ones, I recreated the erotica, and I have the mask on, and I will post a couple of those on our Patreon for some of you to see. Once again, head over. I'll do that this week. Patreon.com/TAGSPodcast, since we're recreating Madonna's infamous photos. But I think he did a great job. I think he looks hot. And
he looks hot.
Yeah, it's his interpretation. And I think he did a good job.
Madonna,
we'll leave it at that.
Him up.
Well, of course, you can never, like, the original is always the OG.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes. We've got
Madonna. Yeah, go.
Our favorite segment, produced by Straight Up Gay Porn, asks the question, which of these 18 gay porn stars took the best photo? It's our job to vividly describe on an audio podcast why we picked the one. Who's your pick and why? And keep it quick. Kodi.
Yes, darling. Roxas Calum. He's the very last one. He's sitting on the floor in front of a bed. The room is clean. He has a delicious body. He's completely naked. He's sitting on the floor. He's taking a picture with his phone in the mirror. He's got one arm flexed. His bicep is the size of my head, and his dick is the size of my legs. So he's my pick for this week.
And say his name again?
Roxas Calum. And he's in second place.
I have to say Shane Cook, who is sporting a really cool sleeveless top and a very thick dick and balls, is getting my vote right now. I'll let you guys decide. But Andres Milan is looking probably my real pick, where he's giving the thumbs up, a heart on, and just a hot beard, looking very sultry. But I have to ask you real quick, there's one called Senate Twink. Is that who we were thinking of?
Girl, no, girl.
Why is he going by Senate Twink?
I don't know.
Because we talked about that.
Can you imagine?
I don't
Where
know.
is she? Oh my God! Please
Oh my God!
Tell me where Senate Twink is. I
Thanks,
need her
everybody,
in my life.
and we love having you. Follow Kodi on Instagram at Mr. Maurice and on Blue Sky. Follow me on the gram. I am _ Steve V. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay
sex. And yes, he is the real Senate Twink.